Gravy. Gravy?
We're live.
Middle school game?
Yeah, there's no players. They're all sick.
I don't know about middle school now.
No, middle school's still on.
Okay. Where's that?
Nares and Giles girls had their first game tonight, and they said they canceled it.
William and Brady Twaits were the only two JV players left standing yesterday. They canceled
I think
practice.
it's live, but I don't know. I don't know. It's not. The camera's not picking up.
How many was out?
Oh, okay.
How many was out yesterday?
Morning.
Well, Todd has 15 on his team, so I'm sure if someone go down, he's okay.
Not good.
Of course, if they could be playing the rec league, it'd be much better for them. Some of them, that's what they need.
Todd, I tell you about the assistant principal / athletic director who was repping the middle school game we're playing.
Yes, he did tell me that.
Is it live? I think it is. Speaking live, yes, but I don't know that the video's live.
Ah,
That was quick.
glad you didn't get too far.
So fast, yeah.
I mean, she's like a click away, right?
How did this happen? That was
I don't know, that's.
incredibly,
Imagine when she just left like 5 minutes.
oh,
Yeah, she was.
Did I just start it?
Hopefully they put our biscuit and gravy covers there.
Then I got an Apple, a watch update, and then of course.
You have to.
Well, I just closed out of those. You want me to pull it back up?
No, as long as we're live, we'll figure out what this issue is later.
So we're still live.
That's my great grandbaby.
oh, that's,
Great
Is it on?
wow.
Just let that sink in.
All right, we'll call this regularly called work session, December 5th, 2023 to order. First item on the agenda is public hearing for the revised 2023-2024 budget.
Need to go into open a public hearing, just see if there's any comments from the public about making amendments to the budget based on General Assembly action, and which includes a 2% salary increase for staff effective January 1.
All right, we'll open the public hearing for any public comment.
They didn't get enough raise.
Any others? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
I don't know if you need this again. This is information that was given to you already. What you have additionally is the salary scale, what they would look like effective January 1. To accomplish an average 2% salary increase for those classifications. I would not be requesting any additional funding. We did receive, based on information we got back from the state budget-wise, we would be receiving additional basic aid, increase in basic aid funding, an increase in at-risk funding, and we had an increase in the compensation supplement. If you look at the last page, you'll see that. The salary scale graphs that you have there attached to that, the salary scale on each page on the left is what is currently in place. And the one on the right is the one that would be in place effective January 1, as long as you all are comfortable with that. And you see the statement at the bottom that is currently on all the salary scales. We would also add a statement to that so that everybody realizes that that's the new scale effective January 1 to June 30th.
Before I talk about this or vote on this, I have conflict of interest. But that conflict of interest affects more than 3 people, thus it is not would not prevent me from voting or discussing this matter. Ms. Glenn has the same conflict of interest.
Questions or comments? I know we've talked about it several times.
Does this affect the 150 that we're,
I hate to call it deficit
spending, but
is that,
We carried over,
yeah, well, we had to spend the carryover to cover the raises.
shouldn't.
okay.
I know we always talk about it, Dr. RBS, but making sure nobody is in some kind of a weird situation where they either don't get any increase. I don't know if we ever have any of that, where they're in that weird spot.
I don't believe that we do now. I'll clean it up to make sure and verify that, but I don't believe
Okay.
there are. I think it's an average of 2%, so there'll be some that'll be a little bit less than 2, some that'll be a little bit more than 2. But it's an average of 2%.
If we can put the word average in all caps and bold.
That's why I keep saying it.
I don't know how we can, it's just it's hard for everybody to hear 2% and then they just go and look at what they get and they multiply that by 1.02 and they think that's what it should be. So that's not how it works. It's an average of 2.
Correct.
And we've talked about this in all these work sessions. We have to do it that way because if we don't, we start getting out of whack again with
Right.
the bottom half not catching up as fast as the top half, and we're back to where we were. So give us some patience to understand the process. Everybody will get to explain that about 22 times, so. Good problem to have.
It's a good problem.
Yeah.
Any questions, concerns, or I guess we need to close the public hearing at some point in time, but any, other questions, concerns about that? And again, the reason why I'm bringing it to you again today, I'd like to at least have, with your all's blessing, be able to pass it along to, some people up here, Jason, so he can start merging it and get the contracts ready to go out amended contracts to go out. And then give it to Barbara, the budget sheet, so she can start entering stuff into the payroll, so that come January, that information's already there and ready to go when she hits the button it needs to be.
It sounds good to me. We'll be able to get ahead of that with the board of supervisors meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
No,
That's what I thought, yes, tomorrow we'll be able to get that.
get consensus from them and those contracts can get out. Yeah, I closed the public hearing, so we should be good.
Okay, all right, thank you. Finalize those and make sure there's no other issues and clean it up, but really should be pretty straightforward, just send out amended contracts. I don't believe there's any need to go into executive session unless y'all have got something.
I don't. Anybody have any executive sessions?
No.
All right, Dr. RBS, SCAP update.
Just so you know, I'm gonna kind of do both of them. SCAP and literary fund, those documents, so those were submitted by their due dates. The SCAP was due November 28th, and that was submitted November 21st, I believe. And the literary fund was due the 16th, and that was submitted November 11th or 10th. So those have been submitted. Now it's just a matter of us waiting to hear back from DOE to see what's been approved and what's not been approved. I think the last time we did both of them, it was about a month and a half to 2 months. So I envision probably, particularly with the holiday here, it'll probably be the end of January at the earliest. That's a guess, but probably a pretty good estimate of the time to know. Macy HVAC update, so you know. Bid opening date is scheduled for 2 weeks from today, December 19th. At 2 o'clock. So, we're excited about the opportunity, the possibilities that are there. When they had the pre-bid meeting, out at Macy, Dr. Brown was out there, they had quite a few individuals out there, so we're hoping to get some good, responses.
We have several primes or,
Several.
okay,
The thing we need to keep in mind with the HVAC equipment and some electrical equipment, there are significant lead times for those. HVAC equipment's 12 months, 12 months. Electrical,
We're gonna get back to,
electrical equipment, some of the electrical equipment's 12 to 18 months.
wow.
So, once we're able to start working, get the bids in, know who we're gonna work with, they're verified by ZMM. Hopefully, we're gonna start pre-ordering stuff to get it paid and get it in the pipeline to get it moving forward.
in the pre-bid, did they have concerns about that, Dr. Brown? A lot of the,
Lead times?
as far as their contract time, and
We had one contractor make a comment on that, and it was answered that we will allow you to set your schedule, meaning
yeah,
you need to tell us what your lead times are, what your schedule is, we will work with you.
just an idea, what we have been doing with that is if they can show us a proof of delivery date, then we will adjust their start contract time based on that, if it's a critical component.
Basically,
That way they won't inflate their bid price to cover what they would think would be liquidated damages on the end of the contract, and it takes that out of the equation. But
basically, that was the comment.
Randy should know how to do that. Okay, that sounds good.
And something else that goes along with the bid for Macy, as well as a couple of the others that we're gonna talk about. We've talked about the gym floors at several of the sites. We're working on getting that bid, hopefully have that bid, RFP put together and ready to go out sometime next week. But the conversation we need to have with ZMM is, particularly for Macy, does it make sense to take that down to bare wood, repair the area that has to be repaired, repaint it, reseal it with knowing the work that needs to be done? Or do we wait, repair the area, have it sealed, and then take it down to bare wood once renovation's done? So that's something that we're now having a conversation and debating to try to figure out what the best timing is for that to occur there at that site. But we know we need to repair the floor for that area that got water damage and is rippled a little bit. So we know the minimum we have to do is repair the wood. So it may look like a little jigsaw puzzle for a little while until we're able to finally take it all down to bare wood. But we know we at least have to do that. Anything I missed on that?
They'll have to take, the floor's still wet. I had a guy go up and check it probably 3 weeks ago, and it's still high moisture. It just won't dry out. So the only fix is to take the gym out of commission, pull the floor up, let it dry from the subfloor up. It's actually starting to damage the subfloor. We discussed that. Probably the best time to do that, of course, is during the summertime. So it would actually, I think it would have to sit there for 4 to 6 weeks to dry out and then have to be repaired. So they probably would make that repair when they were up here doing the rest of our floors. But it won't dry. It just will not dry. I think it was at 19-20% moisture. Needs to be down 3 to 6.
Any other questions on that, Macy? right, moving along, cafeteria. We've talked about this a little bit, and the concern about the cafeteria account, at the last couple meetings. I know the concern is the potential loss of funds that's occurred. But kind of just, when you look back, if you look back at the last, couple years, the last 10 years probably, you will see that there has been some kind of loss the last 10 years in that time period from July 1 to October 30th. Is it as large? No, but there has been a loss if you look at the last, except for 2 years, and that was during COVID, when we were getting a much bigger reimbursement during those 2 years. But there has been some loss during, again, that July 1 from the beginning balance in July 1 and that October 31st ending balance. There has been a loss. Some explanation for why it's a little bit higher this year, and if I'm speaking wrong, you correct me. We've got larger salary increases that were incorporated. Again, we have 2 school nutrition program staff that were moved to full-time positions, which means benefits, which would cost some more. Food costs are higher. Dr. Brown's portion of his salary moved in, is coming out of the school nutrition program now, than last year, it can now. More overtime because trying to keep people working, it's hard to find people to work. So I think we need to get into January to see, because that'll give us November, December, and be able to talk a little bit more about it in January. Is that true?
January, February.
Okay.
I'd like to get it by January, because I think at the latest, the very latest, I think we need to have a best case, worst case, and what we think to go to the Board of Supervisors if there's any chance that we're gonna have to get funding. I mean, we're already deficit spending this year, 150. I just, that conversation's better to be had. It looks like we're on top of it and, addressing it.
What's the delta, between where we are now and the other typical years at this same time? Like how much higher are we tracking right now than in previous years?
About 27,000.
Okay.
That's over 2 years. We go back to 19, 20, 18, 19, it's about 35,000. If you go back 18, 17, it's 4,000. If you go back to 14, 15, 13, 14, it's 75,000. So it ebbs and flows. But between 23, 24, 22, 23, you're looking around 27,000 difference up to around October.
Okay. So that's probably some messaging tomorrow. That number's not terrifying.
It's not, it's just, and we've got to remember the great thing is everybody's getting free lunch, and that's something that, kids are not gonna go hungry regardless of their financial ability
And I think when maybe we made that decision, we were willing to potentially have to spend a little bit of money to make that happen, so.
And I think to address Mr. Buckner, your concern there, I think we still have some positions that have not been filled, so we've got some money
and I think that's the message to them.
that's gonna help cover the 150 carryover that we talked about.
Like I said, I think if we just show that we're addressing it, if we do get a big surprise at the end of the year, which I don't think we will, but it always terrifies you.
No, I understand that wholeheartedly. But no, I think with some of the, unfortunately not being able to fill some of the positions we have that we should be, and that gentleman can answer better than myself, he sees it every day. But, just, I think with the positions that we haven't filled and that sort of thing, we should be okay, particularly with the carryover 150 that we're talking about. Do you see any issue?
No, we're tracking good for this. I mean, this is our last year that we're comfortable as far as funding, but, I don't see any issues other than my 150.
All right, good.
Any other questions about the cafeteria? All right, DHS and NHS renovation.
Just again, to put that out, so you're aware, again, you know, we've submitted we were awarded SCAP for Nares and Giles already. We put the literary fund out, application in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago for Giles and Nares High School projects. ZMM is working on finalizing the information for those two projects to get that out on the street. I would hope and like to see us, if you all are comfortable, is to get those out in January, is what we talked about here. To get them out on the street so we can start getting in the pipeline for those two schools. But I didn't want to tell Randy and jump the gun without at least having a conversation with you all to make sure you all were comfortable with that.
I think we've got to make sure we get that money spent.
Yeah, I agree, but I just want to make sure that everybody's understands and is on the same page. Now, we do have, just so you see, we asked Randy, we had a conversation with him yesterday, so that you, kind of knew, looking at Macy, Giles, and Nares High School, kind of just a drawdown on when purchase equipment, and that sort of stuff. And that kind of gives you an idea of between now, actually between February and the end of June, it kind of gives you a drawdown of what it looks like total wise for each project, just trying to get equipment bought and that sort of thing. So if you see there, that's 2, 4, 5, that's 5.8, almost $5.9 million right there. So that should hopefully cover the funding that we're talking about. I just want to make, I'm sorry, I'm talking
No,
about.
that's actually what I was working on just now.
Yeah. So,
I think the construction money and the ESSER funds, I emailed Dr. Arbogast yesterday evening. I think the Macy project and the Nares High School project would be the only two that we would potentially have to use those funds for. And my recommendation to Dr. Arbogast, and he may differ in opinion, if we don't use federal funds for the Giles High School project, we would not have to do the Davis-Bacon rates in the bid. That could potentially bring that project cost down.
yeah.
No, potentially, it will.
Yeah.
That stuff is,
So,
Oh, it jacks it up,
yep, a
unfortunately.
lot of work for,
so based on these projections and then the ZMM, what's left on their architect fees, which we can use for the state money, and that's pretty much what that money's been used for up to this point. There's about a $300,000 buffer based on these projections for Macy, Nares High School, and then what's left for ZMM without having to pull Giles High School in.
Just spend it. That's the only time you're ever gonna hear me say that.
So I wanted to make sure you all comfortable with that, because that's the direction we're gonna keep progressing in.
Thank you, that's exactly what,
Unless we hear something different.
yeah, exactly what we want to hear.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
And it's not with these funds here. We had talked about at one time, renovating the building down there at school bus garage, AEP, something. Are we still looking at that? I know these funds won't come from there, but
I think that conversation, when we went through what we went through a month ago to get the resolutions and that sort of stuff, for the literary fund approved or put together, that was taken off the table.
I think, Mark, I think there'll be options of the county. What I took from that is the county's gonna be doing some things at that, up behind the Lutheran church that we may be able to at least get the kids that are, that can't be on school grounds, at least get something for this. So we got an option. And I think that's, at least that's where, I don't know, Steve, that's kind of where I took what I took from that. They're willing to support that.
So they're developing a facility there that'll be kind of a multi-use type facility shared with the sheriff's department, and what Chris had offered up was when they start developing that footprint and how you access it and the usage for it, that they would be willing to include some square footage based on that particular situation. What we told them is what we've always been struggling with. If we have to expel a student, then we don't really have a way to provide them with some continuity other than tell them where to go on a web page to get some online stuff. But we also don't want to put any of the other kids that aren't having challenges at risk, so they're just out.
Right, exactly.
So this, I think the county said, instead of trying to retrofit an entire space, that we would fluctuate. Sometimes we'd have maybe 2 or 3, sometimes we may not have any. That way we're not tying up an entire footprint. So that they want to partner with us, and when they get further in the weeds, I think the intent was to include our staff and kind of understand what we need that building to be able to do, and how we, if there are some adult folks in that facility that the parents would be concerned about, we need to make sure there's separation between that they understand that the optics are pretty important too. We can't just tag on a little 10 by 10 building on the building where they're gonna have high-risk criminals, so we have to keep that in mind. But they do want to partner with us, and so.
Good. I think, as we all know, how important the benefit and the problems that has occurred in the last several years, you know, of those kids. And I know they had one Space Force at the South Sheriff's Office, and that didn't go well, but hopefully we'll,
They were very receptive to it.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's just,
When will they start putting together some renderings for what potential entrance changes?
My understanding of the conversation we had with Randy yesterday, they have some of those now. He's looking at his calendar and was gonna try to schedule a time to sit down with us this week.
Okay.
If he does and we get something, we'll kind of share those out and kind of give you an idea of what to talk, but we've not seen anything yet, but it's my understanding, as I said, they've got something, some drafts.
So our discussion with the Board of Supervisors on that was that we're getting ready to spend a lot of money on things that the public won't see, roofs and HVAC, and they wanted both boards to make sure that entrances and things that people see typically when they come in to either go to a sporting event or an auditorium, that area gets some attention, so that when people see a $40 million price tag, they can identify improvement. I don't know if we want to do tours on rooftops so they can see it, but I think just some visual, and it would also to help the security.
that's it.
I think more
That's the main
important
thing. That's the main thing.
So the safety would be the main component, but you know, we talked to Randy about there's little things you can do to make things look more updated, like door frames and ceiling tiles. And so as you guys work through that, that was kind of what the Board of Supervisors encouraged us to think about, so.
But no, as soon as I anticipated it probably that Tuesday. I figured it'd be Thursday, Friday before we sat down with it and looked at them. And then we could kind of share that with y'all and see, so y'all can have an idea of what they're talking. Anything else on those?
If they could do something in Revit that would be a pretty powerful way to show the boards what some of those improvements would actually look like. So you can actually walk up the steps, open the door, go in.
We'll get that.
Just food for
Hey,
thought.
walk up the steps, ADA, man.
Or you can go up the ramp. I don't know if what they plan to design it in. If it's just regular CAD, then
I think they're just, I think right now what they're gonna give us is basically what they gave us last time, is something on a plan, on a site plan. Maybe some preliminary elevations, I don't know.
okay.
All right, moving along. Next item is the ag truck at the tech center. Was asked to be put on the agenda.
So my understanding is that there's a request to share that piece of equipment in some capacity, so I think the concern would be the salt potentially impacting the life of the truck, so I just wanted to better understand, do they want to use it every single time that they have to spread?
The initial conversation was to trade us the F-350 for a Ranger.
It ain't working.
And so that was the initial conversation. And have that, now the conversation is, it's my understanding that they want to would like to use it to spread salt, and they're going to place the salt spreader on the back of it. So it's gonna have to be on it through the winter time, from, I would assume, this point in time till through February at least.
So then we don't have a truck
So
anymore.
then, that truck, would not be able to, but now if they have a Ranger or something that they can use, it's my understanding that, Mr. Townsend's using his vehicle for the gooseneck trailer anyway.
Why is that?
I don't know, I found that out yesterday, and I have not. I don't believe that F-350 has the ability right now to do a gooseneck, but I don't know that.
So the truck we have don't have a gooseneck hitch in it?
No, but it
It's just a
could
ball
probably
hitch.
be,
It's a ball hitch.
I thought we knew that, but I thought we were gonna get between Dusty and the auto mechanics to get one installed.
we can get one.
I just don't think he should be using his personal vehicle to do that.
I don't,
I mean, that was the whole point, we got an F-350 dually, and I think it's a great buy for what it was, but if we're not using it to that.
We just rebuilt the bed on it too. I think,
Why'd we rebuild the bed if we didn't do the gooseneck? That's kind of my question.
didn't have one on it, I didn't know.
I found that, I guess, yesterday, but I don't.
Let's get a gooseneck on it, and we certainly can't make it unusable by putting a salt spreading apparatus on it. My understanding is they maybe just wanted to use it in a pinch, but we can't.
It's my understanding they want it available now, and they want to use it when, to make sure they can spread salt down in our parking lots, as well as the other parking lots.
Well, what were they using before?
That I don't know, and that's what I don't know what's changed from this time last year to this time this year. I don't.
Let's talk about it more and see what we can figure out.
We can dig through that tomorrow with them. But we can't take a piece of equipment that's critical to the functionality of what we're doing up there and make it unusable. Doesn't sound to me like it's fully usable now, and we need the gooseneck, and then, I mean, it's the ag truck, so.
I don't know if they just need a ball in the bed or if they actually need a fifth wheel.
Yeah, I mean, you need a fifth wheel, you need to go on the frame there.
Have to go down to the frame?
I assumed it was underneath the bed and take it.
Of course, they've cut a hole in the bed, ain't gonna be no big deal, but they should, like Jason said, they should have done that before they put the new bed on.
And I guess, and that's the thing too, I mean, if the county I don't know how long it takes to put the salt spreader on and take it off, but if it's something they can put on and take off when we're expecting snow, it's a little different story than.
The way I understood it is, it's not, and I could be wrong, and we can talk more about it tomorrow, cause I was informed that other members of the county would be at our meeting tomorrow as well to discuss it. It sounds like something they're gonna put on now, and it could come off in February, it could come off in April, March. And we were reassured that if Mr. Townsend needed something, they would run and get it. You know, I don't know.
Okay, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Next item on the agenda is an update on the scheduled conversation for the two high schools. As you know, both high schools, Ms. Bogus, Mr. Bowles, along with Mr. White and Ms. Mustaine, have met several times. They have discussed several different options throughout this process, whether it was 7-period day, block scheduling, modified block, alternating block. So they talk about several different options. It was also shared with them that the ultimate goal was for them to be able to come back, come to a consensus on what was best for both schools. Why are we talking about this now? Tech Center, as we've shared with you, Giles Tech Center students, based on the information that was shared from DOE with Mr. White, no longer can we operate the way we currently are operating. We can't provide the 3 credits in the morning and 4 credits in the afternoon. It's got to be the number of hours, it's got to be the number of credits that they're earning. We can't operate that way. So in order to accommodate the Tech Center students, we have to have a plan that allows the Tech Center students to be able to travel back to Narrows High School and not miss a significant amount of class time. That's one reason. 2 was to provide some flexibility that in the event we got in a pinch, we needed to share staff, we could possibly share staff. Third item, which came about here recently, is the all-in tutoring. Try to come up with a schedule that would allow the tutoring to be conducted during the day. So how do we accomplish that? The recommendation that we would have to you all would be some type of 8-period day. Giles High School would be on a straight 8-period day. We've got a schedule, they'd start at 8:15 and end at 3:20. Class periods would be about 47, 48 minutes long. Middle of the day, I think around lunchtime would be the tutoring period, is what they projected, along with meeting with club sponsors, club officers, class officers, et cetera, during that time, which would provide staff the opportunity to meet with that opportunity there as well, instead of doing it after school. Narrows High School would be on and I don't know a better word, and if you can think of a better word, Ms. Mustaine, tell me, but it's a modified 8-period day. They would have 2 blocks and 4 periods. And that is to accommodate the travel time to make sure the Tech Center students can get their class at the Tech Center, travel back in the morning to get back to a class at Narrows High School. So theirs would be first block, 94 minutes, 90, whatever minutes, however many that would be. The next 2 would be periods. That way the Tech Center, when they travel, can come back into a 47-minute period and they're not missing a significant amount of time. Third, so that the time around lunch would be a block, to allow lunch and travel time, and then coming back that afternoon, you would have the ability to do, if needed, to do 2 periods as well at the end of the day to allow travel time back, because travel time, there are several times it's gonna increase the travel from the tech center. They will leave Narrows High School at 8 o'clock and get to the tech center at 8:15. They'll leave the tech center at 9:45 and get back to Narrows High School at 10 o'clock. And then the next group will leave tech center at 10:30 and get back at 10:45. And then the final group will leave the tech center at 11:15. Leave Narrows High School for the tech center at 11:15, leave the tech center at 11:15, get back at 11:30. So there's 3 travel times in the morning, so that's why we need to do the block into periods, to accommodate that travel time so the kids aren't missing a significant amount of time.
Will they still be able to do their in-school tutoring at Narrows?
If with the periods, that should allow them to accomplish the in-school tutoring as well. And that was part of the conversation. And the same thing in the afternoon, you look at the afternoon, the PM, Narrows High School would leave, students would leave Narrows High School 11:45, get to the tech center by noon time, leave the tech center at 2:15, get back at 2:30. They'd have the ability to take the last period of the day to get a class, and then the students at the tech center would leave at 3:05 to get to Narrows High School at 3:20.
I personally think that in-school tutoring is essential. I think that would help tremendously with their test scores with these kids. But those schools gotta have it, you know.
That's what the conversation's been, and that's what we've talked about.
They have it.
And they have it on their draft as well.
Most of the concern that I have received via email and in person is to make sure that the schedules allow for arts and extracurricular and band and theater, so we're not impacting any of that at either of the schools.
No, should not.
I know my math teachers at Giles certainly support an 8 period, so that was another thing they were very passionate about as well. So I don't see any blind spots from the feedback that I've gotten from the folks that have emailed me, and I appreciate the folks that did reach out with their thoughts. So your end, Mr. Buckland, anybody?
As long as they're able to keep some form of block, I think that was the biggest concern I've heard a lot.
I mean, I think people are asking why are we even messing with this. I think, Dr. Arguez, you said it before, we, for years, have wanted to be sure that we can share staff, share ideas, share teaching techniques, and really maximize the abilities of our instructors at both high schools. And if something's really, really doing well at Narrows, then we need to have some ability to do that countywide and vice versa. So the goal was.
Yeah, well, that was part of the goal, yes, sir, but unfortunately, what we found out here in the last month and a half with the tech center not being able to continue the same way they are, we had to make sure that we couldn't do it Giles staying with what they are and Narrows one on the block, because the kids will be coming back in the middle of a 90-minute period and missing 40 minutes of a class, and that can't occur.
It was also affecting the amount of credits they had for sports as well.
Correct. Thank you. I've forgotten that.
And it sounds like all the kids will benefit, I would think, or a lot of them will benefit, so.
It's a way to get the tutoring in the day. It'll provide some access to during the day as well, but not a lot. If they're not necessarily tutoring, they can be working with their club officers, the student government officers, whatever it might be during that time as well.
They get 2 certifications.
And thank you, I had that written down and I forgot that as well. At the tech center, if a kid, through this possibility, if a kid goes through the certificate, gets his certification, has the ability, they could go back the next year starting in 25-26 and possibly take an introductory program in another area.
I think that's
You get
really
two
important.
So
certificates.
that's another
That's the
opportunity that
positive.
they're gonna get, so they can finish the program, possibly the next year, be able to go in and take the introductory course for a different program. So that's pretty big too,
That's great.
so,
And just, you know.
thank you, I had that written down, and I forgot to.
And I hope people don't, we're not telling people we're gonna start sharing staff, but we want that ability if we need to. I know I've heard some concern from folks that they have to start traveling, but.
We are, as a school system, gonna continue to evolve in every way that makes sense for us to have the best tools at our fingertips to do best by the students. So, doesn't mean that it makes sense right now, but we've just got to vision where we want to be long-term. And I think you guys did a great job, Dr. Arbogast. I don't think people realize that it's not as simple as just, wow, can't both be on the exact same schedule. This tech center change, we were gonna have to look at some stuff anyway. So it sounds like you guys came back with something that's gonna be helpful and that their teachers are okay with, so.
And you all talked to all of the administrators. They're not concerned about having to make this schedule up, are they? I mean, they can do it.
I think they already did it.
The schedule's already basically done.
Yeah.
They basically have it, I mean, I haven't drafted, really a draft, first draft, if you wanna see it, it's that they've already worked on it and have.
Okay.
And that's why we're here, I mean, they've already worked on it,
So
and that's,
good.
and,
All right.
I mean, we thank Mr. White and Mr. Bogus and Mr. Bowles for their work on it, but I know Mr. White put a lot of time in it, cause he sent us, I hate to say how many drafts,
8.
to try to keep track of just the different ones to see the time the kids are gonna leave here to go back. Okay, we can't because that's too far in the middle, we gotta, how you adjust it, so I mean, it was a lot of different options that were shared.
Yeah, and then for those that are listening, there's a lot of chatter that we've accelerated this vote so that Mr. Wilbur and myself have a chance to vote on something before we go off the board, but that is not the case. We have been asked to act on this by staff so that we can get the schedule in place and get those moving. So it doesn't sound to me like it's a contentious decision at this point with everybody being on board with what you're gonna recommend, Dr. Arbogast, but I think the intent is to vote on this in the December meeting so that you guys can move forward and we can get schedules in place.
I'm not hearing anything from you all right now to hear that us asking you to approve it at the December 20th board meeting is gonna be a problem, and the two high schools can continue to tweak what they have now and really start getting it ready so that they're good to go when they come back in January. But I'm, as I said, I'm assuming that because I'm not hearing anything right now. But yeah, we will bring it to you to formally approve it, 2 weeks.
Anybody else have any concerns or questions?
I think all kids will benefit in one way or another, and so, yeah, I don't see a problem.
Yeah, as I said, if you're interested in seeing them, and I didn't print them off because I didn't know if you'd be interested, but I have them if you were interested in seeing start times and that sort of stuff. And
I would like to see, yeah.
yeah, we can sit down here and we can talk about it.
Okay.
All right. Anything else from board members about the high school schedule? Mr. Pennington, do you have any words you want to use?
No, if they've worked it out the way they want it and they're happy with it,
All right. Anything else from staff?
Unless I've forgotten anything.
I got something that's not, it wasn't on the agenda, but I had a gentleman come to me and was wondering if we would be interested in filling the sinkhole up at Eastern Elementary. He said he had the dirt and we could have it, we would just have to haul it.
Never even thought about it, to be honest with you, so I don't know. Conversation we'd have to have.
Big sinkhole.
Yeah, where is it?
As soon as you go in, it's to the right.
It's right there on the right side, so we'd have to,
Okay, I guess.
And that had to get that permitted through DEQ.
get somebody to permit to bring that much dirt in.
What type of land's it coming off of?
I don't, it's, Donnie Martin was the one who approached me. He said he had the dirt. He said, I'll give you the dirt as long as you haul it. I have no idea where it's
Know
going.
where it's coming from. Know what's in it. That would be my only concern. It's
Well, I think-
important.
I think it's right there in Newport where the Adrian store is. It's on the right side, that big bank. I think he's wanting to, I think that's where it's coming from.
Look at it, nothing wrong with exploring.
And he just said that he thought maybe if we filled that in, then we could have maybe a bigger playground or a football field or a baseball field or something.
That's something there, yeah, you can extend what's there.
So the only two things need to take into account. We have to have that approved by DEQ, and it can't be waste material. And if it's gonna be something that we wanna use later, it needs to have some kind of compaction requirement when it goes in there. Cause if it's just dumped and left, and you got voids in there later, yeah, it's.
Scory sink.
Just sinks again, then we got a further problem.
And aesthetically, I don't think we wanna have piles of whatever comes out of there. It's definitely usable property that would be much more accessible,
But next time I see him, I'll ask him if that's where it's coming from, on that bank or across from Adrian store.
They tried to develop that years back and it fell through, but it's a good spot. It's just not very easy to get to. And there's this really big sign there that's tough to not see every time you pull in going to my house.
Hate that for you.
It kind of turns my stomach every time I see it.
Well, it looks really, it looks good. I don't know how many years ago that picture was taken.
Is that the same as our pictures in the school boards?
Right,
Yeah.
right. All right, anything else from the board?
So the last 2 days, yesterday and today, we have experienced some illness within the school facilities, staff as well as students. I don't have the numbers.
I have the numbers.
If you can share. Stick out, because I know we had on site yesterday, Giles High School had 9 or 11 teachers out, staff out, so.
Right now, from all the schools, Eastern, has 6 out, with 39 students. Nearest High School, 4 with 30 students. Giles High School has 21 staff members out, and I just got an update on the students. They have 172 students out, 21 staff members. Macy has 7 staff members and 68 students. And Nares Elementary School, they have 14 staff members. They have 59 students. But a lot of the subs don't know how to take attendance, so they think the number's gonna go up. Macy's now up to 63 students out and 8 staff members. And Nares Elementary just lost their custodian and canceled a ball game.
Well, I've had a lot of inquiry about, do we plan to do virtual? There's always the question of cleaning, and I think everybody keeps thinking that's a magical solution, but it's
The minute they walk back in,
it's
it's
not.
contaminated.
Information,
It's not.
yesterday, I know Jesse sent something to Jason Dees, who at the health department, and I know we had somebody else that reached out to the health department as well, and the response back was, there are, I mean, right now, we're standing concerned about the respiratory illness in the schools. It's similar throughout the region. It's our understanding that Montgomery County, based on their indicators, they hit a kind of a peak last week, and we're usually about a week behind. So hopefully this is the peak and it's gonna start dropping off. There's a lot of different respiratory illnesses that they're talking about. You got the colds, flu, COVID, RSV, that sort of thing. The health department doesn't generally recommend school closures due to respiratory illnesses, unless there's just not enough staff to run the school. I didn't know 21 until it was shared with us. So I mean, those are things we're gonna have to keep an eye on to see if we have problems running the school, then that's what we're gonna have to have conversation with the health department about. They also said deep cleaning. I mean, that really, all that is just giving the impression, because it's not gonna be effective because
It's airborne.
it's airborne. So, now, if you're talking about GI and that sort of stuff, that's a little bit different, cleaning it and that sort of, but again, we just need to make sure that anybody if they're sick, have a fever, they need to
Stay
stay
home.
home until 24 hours after the fever breaks. So,
To the extent that if something did happen, I had to shut down, if we're shutting down, we got sick teachers and a bunch of sick students, I don't think we should have virtual. I think that's putting a lot, I mean, I think all that is marking time in this situation.
And I think people need to realize that the reason that we try to reduce school closure is because while we have the virtual in place, it is not effective for everybody. And those kids don't eat on those days.
correct.
And so I know those two should be absolutely a strong reason for us to avoid shutting down. So if we can run the buildings, then the students that can get there will get instruction and they'll eat. So that's why we avoid pulling the trigger on doing that. So I'm just one board member, but I think as long as we can run the buildings, we gotta keep them open.
I agree with you, just on a teacher perspective though. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but there won't be a lot of instruction going on when there's 21 staff members out.
Right.
So why are you
What
there?
they're going to be doing is housing students.
Right,
They're going to be
that's it.
sitting somewhere doing something because there's no subs, the subs that they have, they're going to be housing students. They're gonna be combining classes in classrooms, so there's not gonna be a lot of instruction going on. They will have lunch and they will have breakfast, but as far as that goes, I mean, some of the teachers are really sick, and so therefore they're
right.
not,
They're not,
you know, the teachers are trying, the ones that, you know, feel like it are posting things on Google Classroom, and the kids are sitting there, but they will be housing students and trying to keep them safe. But it's, you know, Giles High School is getting to a point, you know, with cafeteria staff and, you know, and I think Mr. Gautier said that, or somebody had said that basically Narrows Elementary School's third grade is pretty much wiped out with teachers being sick and kids out. So, you know, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, just as long as everybody knows we're gonna be housing kids and there's not gonna be a lot of
Right.
instruction going on. That's reality.
Like I said, if you got to pull the trigger on it, I would prefer. I mean, what I see it with my son's got whatever it is, and these kids are getting it pretty sick, and same with the adults that are getting it. So it's something it's not like our 7 to 10 day out
Exposures were, you know.
I mean, it's hard to know what the right answer is, you know, like, you know, but it's, you know, it's, some of the schools, they're in a bind right now, some of them are, so.
My thing is we'll leave it to you guys in your judgment.
Right.
I just wanted y'all to be aware, and if y'all
So
start hearing.
hopefully we can
So,
get this week, hopefully it's gonna.
Yeah, I think after this week, we should, you know, like Dr. Arbogast said, we're a week behind
That's
Montgomery County.
usually about what they see is, but we're usually about a week
Did they
behind,
have
so.
to, what did they do?
I didn't hear them having to do anything,
Okay,
so,
didn't know if they had to make.
yeah, I didn't hear them closing or anything. I've not heard anybody around us here recently close. So,
All right. Anything else? Got a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor? We are adjourned.